गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादशङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। नमामि गौडपादं च शङ्करं श्रीसुरेश्वरं स्वामिनं सच्चिदानन्दमिन्द्रं तं ज्ञानरूपिणे। ओम नारायण। 37th point. Okay, in Sugama, Shastra Vyavaharasyapi. I don't know what book you use or whether you just listen directly. If you are using this book, okay, page number 57. If you are using other book, because there are 1, 2, 3 editions. I don't know which edition you use. The page number may differ, but the 37th point. In this, Shastra Vyavaharasyapi Adhyasa Purvakatvam. Now, Sarvoyam Vyavahara, when we told all the Vyavahara is due to Adhyasa or within Adhyasa. Due to Adhyasa, within Adhyasa, all that means the same. So, he says next to Shastra Vyavahara. So, Vyavahara is twofold. One is the worldly Vyavahara, that is instinctive Vyavahara. Instinct, or even you can further divide it. Instinctive Vyavahara, well thought out Vyavahara. One is instinctive behavior, another is well thought out behavior. Thought out. Okay. But premeditated, we call these things premeditated, well thought out. Conscious behavior, consciously thought out. One is an instinctive, impulsive behavior or well thought out behavior. Not only behavior, even thoughts, speech and behavior. All this put together is Vyavahara, convention, transaction. Okay? The conventions or transactions. The transactions are Vyavahara, which are worldly. Worldly Vyavahara is 2 types. One is an instinctive behavior, instinctive thoughts, speeches. We instinctively think. Instinctively we speak also, and act also. Like hunger, thirst, they are all instinctive. Second is thought out. We think, our thoughts are born of our perception and our inferences. Okay? Perception and inference also produces various thoughts and ideas, imaginations. We develop our own beliefs. For example, once you are cheated, then second time also you think another person, he might cheat me, so you don't trust him. So this distrust or a suspicion about a person, a fear about a person is born of a previous experience. So based upon previous experiences, we draw our own conclusions, we make our own judgments. All these are worldly judgments. Okay? Worldly ideas based upon our own experiences, based upon comparison with people. Watching people, compare with them, discuss with them, learn and see the people, how they suffer, how they do good. And somebody did something, he became successful. You think that you also will become successful by doing it. Or somebody failed, you will be afraid that you might fail. So like this, by comparison, by your own imagination, by your own thought, we have got lot of ideas. We develop our own thoughts, judgments, opinions, ideas. We form these opinions not only about the people, world and events. We form about ourselves also. Unconsciously, we develop certain opinions, certain ideas, certain images about ourselves. Okay? We develop certain image about ourselves. That I am like this, I am so much capable, I am not capable. all these things, your self-confidence, your lack of confidence, all these things are developed in course of time, in interaction, in living life. So human mind draws its own conclusions. If you fail few times, you think that, oh, I may not be successful, let me not do. So you will not try again. So this is your own quality of your confidence. So self-image, self-confidences, and also opinions about the people and the things around, all these things happen. All these things happen by our own thinking. One is instinctive, second is by our own thinking. Our own thinking based upon perception and inference. We make conclusions, draw conclusions by watching, observing, comparing, thinking, all these things based upon past experiences. So this is also from the human thinking alone. But there is another thing, a thoughts and behavior, taught and encouraged by Shastras. Thoughts and ideas given by Shastras. Shastras give us certain ideas like Punya Papa. Human mind itself cannot think of these ideas. Like Punya Papa, you can't imagine because you don't know what is there outside. In the next life, after death, what happens, you have no idea. See, after death, what happens? We are only afraid of death. We think with death, everything ends. After death, we are only afraid, but we don't know anything. Only a culture may teach, but culture also is based upon Shastras. So the religious Shastras teach us that there is a Punya Papa. And there is Ishvara. And there is other world. And there is a rebirth, Punarjanma, after this. And you had a previous Janma. Previous Janma also I would not know. Because your inference doesn't work here. Okay? Perception, we see the world. Through perception, we see the world through our sense organs. And we... Okay? And... inference, what can you infer? Can you infer what would happen, what must have happened before I was born? We have no way. We don't know. And I'm just adjusting. Okay? Okay, because the cell phone shakes when I adjust a little bit. This also needs to be adjusted. My sitting posture I have changed, I have to adjust. Okay, now, previous... that I existed before my before I was born, nobody could imagine. This Shastra has to give us that I existed before I was born. Then I shall continue to exist even after my death of the body. I continue to exist in another body, in another human body, or in another animal body, or in another world of Devatas or Rishis or something. So, this is taught by Shastra. Not only that, the cause and effect relation which we find in the world, cause and effect relationship, we don't know. But Shastra says that this cause and effect relationship continues into the next world and after death also. Before death and after death. See, this is where you see our Shastras, Hindu Shastras, extend means the other world, other life before death, that is a previous Janma and later Janmas also, are governed by the same law of cause and effect. But the religions, Abrahamic religions, do not seem to apply this cause and effect relationship. That's why before birth, Atma existing? No. Before you were born, Atma was not existing. They say Atma was newly created. And after the death of the body, Atma continues, but but the result you get, the world you go to, they have got only two gatis. Gati, the end, the destination, only two destinations, either heaven or hell. That's all, there is no other way. And only one Janma and only one this. It looks very illogical. Illogical in the sense it doesn't seem to follow the cause and effect relationship. And your heaven and hell doesn't depend upon what you do. If you join a group and believe a prophet and lost son and believe some concept, and without questioning whether it is logical or illogical, just you believe, they again ask you to believe that you will go to heaven. But how can I go to heaven and hell and etc.? What is the logic? At least some logic of cause and effect, something should be there. And they say no logic. You have to believe, that's all. And a human nature, because of ignorance, because of fear, see, there is a fear, therefore it wants to believe something, because the belief gives him some security, some psychological feeling of security. Therefore, even if it is illogical, people believe it. So these religions are using the human weakness. See, it is not weakness, in fact it is a healthy thing. Belief is a healthy thing. Belief means what you don't know, that also exists, but how it exists should be understood logically. Should be understood logically. But they say, since I need to believe something, what I don't know, and they make use of the belief, it's not a weakness. People say, atheists say weakness. I feel it is not a weakness, it is a nature. It is a healthy nature. Belief is a healthy nature. Okay? Belief is a healthy nature. And if it is logical, okay. So, the same belief, along with your thinking, if they give you some logic to it, then it is okay. But the same belief, they use it against your logic, and they say, no, you have to believe and don't question, don't think, don't expect it to be logical also. Even if it is illogical, even if it is irrational, believe it. So that's why they believe and again doubt. They believe and again doubt. Again believe and again doubt. So there is a continuous doubt going on along with belief. Therefore, the belief is accompanied by two things. One is fanaticism, another is doubt. Okay, if it is illogical, the belief without logic, illogical, or against logic, it doesn't follow at least a certain probability logic. It should look somewhat probability logic at least. Probably, logic, probable, it looks probable. So, then that ethics and morality and all these things look very logical. And it is good, it encourages a person to be a good and sane person. But otherwise, if you snub it, so the ethical sense of a person goes away. The ethics also, those religious books teach, are very strange ethics. What is that? You can torture some people for no reason. You can exploit them because they are hell-bound. They are destined to hell. Certain non-believers, unbelievers are destined to hell. You can exploit them, you can subjugate them, kill them, rape them, murder them. And because they are the followers of Satan, this concept of Satan and God, along with God there is a Satan. Satan is a continuously competitive with God. They don't fight with each other. See, in our Shastras, our Asuras and Devas, they fight among themselves. But here these religions say is, Satan and God, they don't fight. Both of them, they take vengeance, they show their ego upon the human beings. God also says, hey, out of hatred out of jealousy for Satan, God wants to control human beings. And Satan also wants to control human beings out of hatred for God, out of jealous of God. So both of them, they hate each other, they have got egos and they are jealous of each other. Okay, let them be jealous, we don't mind. But let them take let them cheat each other, let them hit each other, let them fight against each other. No, they don't do touch each other. Satan and God don't touch each other. They remain relaxed. They only start torturing us. Oh, this is a very strange thing. They come and only torture us. And you don't know, both are to be believed, that there is a Satan, that there is a God. Wild belief, wild in the sense it is wild, it is illogical also, but you are supposed to believe. So they are using the belief which is a healthy one. Every human being has it. Just as we have got eyes and ears and we have got a mind to feel, just we have got hunger and thirst, belief is also, as even the so-called atheist also have got a belief. He believes that there is no God. Somebody believes that there is a God, but both are beliefs only anyway. What you believe may differ, but the belief itself is a nature, human need. Okay, you may be atheist, you may be agnostic, or you may be a believer of some concept, some idea. But some idea anybody is believing anyway. All the three, the theist, atheist and agnostic, all the three have some opinions, some ideas. They believe some idea. How far that idea is right or wrong is a different thing. But everybody needs a belief and you have a belief. Okay? Only thing is that idea should be more a healthy idea, logically healthy idea. It should inspire a good qualities, good nature, a generosity and good qualities in you. Then it is okay. But it starts discriminating. It is in the name of God. It encourages you to be jealous and angry and egoistic, torture others. And it permits all human weaknesses of ego and frustration, etc. God himself justifies his jealousy and ego. Abrahamic God I am talking. God himself justifies his weaknesses. That shows God himself is another human being alone. Their God is another human being only. Because he was imagined in the model of a king, in the model of a human king, that God was imagined. That God was not discovered. That God was imagined by certain people, and all other people are supposed to believe, don't question. Even if he is like a human God, doesn't matter, they believe, they are supposed to believe. Don't expect him to be superhuman. Okay? All his superhuman is very powerful. That Abrahamic God is powerful, he'll threaten you and kill you, that's all, you should be afraid. That's the only thing. Only thing superhuman about the Abrahamic God is that he is a terrorizing God. He has got a power. He terrorizes you. He uses your faith. Your faith. People say faith is a weakness of a human nature. Faith is not weakness, I tell you. Faith is human nature, and it is a healthy. Just as you have got a hunger and thirst, just as you have got eyes, faith is also in another eye, another perceiving capacity. Just as intellect thinks and understands, and perception is one, inference is one, faith is also helps you to understand certain things. It gives you psychological strength or weakness. Psychological strength means you believe something, the belief gives you some confidence, some strength. Okay? And also it gives you insecurity. Instead of calling strength, let me use another word, security, psychological feeling of security, psychological feeling of insecurity. Okay? Security, insecurity. Faith gives you. Faith also gives you some insight beyond what human mind is capable of thinking. It may give you vaguely, but it gives you some probability, some vaguely. So therefore, faith is also an eye, a kind of an eye. At least it gives you a vague eye. Vague means a general eye. A general eye means I am talking E-Y-E. Okay? E-Y-E. Eye means the sight. It is a sight. It is a vision. Faith is also vision. Perception is a vision. Intellectual thinking, not speculative intellect, a simple logical thinking. Not a speculative thinking, a simple logical thinking is a vision, is a perception, is an understanding, is a means of understanding, let us say. Similarly, faith is also a means of understanding. Okay? Only thing is, the faith should be combined with healthy thinking. That is the problem. The problem lies not with the faith, because faith is anyway there, and anything naturally given, it is okay. Only thing is, the faith has been abused by separating it from intellect. In Europe, you see, faith versus intellect, they are always fighting each other. There are either some people support the faith, some people support the science and atheists. In Europe and West, all West, science and atheists only support the thinking, intellectual thinking, and they reject the faith. They call faith is all superstition. Faith is a human weakness. See, this word in the beginning I too told, faith is a human weakness. I picked up all this from modern books alone, these English medium books alone. We never called faith as a weakness. Such a word doesn't exist in Indian culture at all. We picked it up only from in my contact with my modern educated people. So I changed it now. Okay. So here I'll tell you, before I proceed, I tell you, faith is a two things. Belief is a two things. One is the very believing nature of the human heart. Another is the concept you believe, the idea you believe. Believe means two things. The very believing nature of human heart, okay, the believing nature, the believing tendency, believing nature of human mind is one, and the concept you believe is another. So these two things are mixed up in Europe. Belief means, they say, the believing nature of mind, and also the concept you believe, the idea you believe. Both of them are mixed up, and they use the word believe in two meanings together. But in us it is very clear. The very believing nature of mind, believing nature is commonly there with everybody. Therefore, don't call it a weakness. We never call it a weakness or human weakness and all. Belief is a healthy thing. Just as you have got eyes and ears, perception, just as you have got a mind, intellect to think, mind has a two capacity. One, it thinks, another it believes. Feelings, a feeling, believing and thinking, all the three are there. Fourth is recalling. All the four are there in human mind, and all of them are equally good. All of them are good. There may be few mistakes, but mistake is different, but calling it as a weakness is different. Okay. Only thing is, it should be healthy and harmony. So, we talk of two things. I have to say, because Shastriya Vyavahara, the topic has come, so that I am discussing it. After telling all these things, then I will connect to Swamiji's that Shastriya Vyavahara. How Shastriya Vyavahara is due to Adhyasa. Before we understand, let me clear this confusion about how Indian Shastras think. Because the Vedanta is talking, keeping Shastras, Indian Shastras in view. Hindu Shastras in view, Hindu Karmakanda, Hindu ritualistic portion, Hindu religious aspect in view, and then talking ethics and religion and all, and then it is talking of Adhyasa. So we can't take Abraham things here and then you can't give it, you can't just leave it as general. Otherwise people think that everything is one and then Abrahamic is also same thing. Shastra is not talking of Abrahamic religion at all. It is talking of Hindu Shastras alone. Okay. Therefore I have to elaborate this much. I have to explain these points. So in belief, believing nature of human heart, it is naturally there. It wants to believe. But the belief should not be wild. Belief should not be out of fear, out of insecurity, or out of illogicality. See, belief itself is good. It's natural. But combining along with it, what combines with belief, what goes with belief, the other one is a problem. What is that? Illogicality, insecurity, fear. Belief should not come from fear. That means belief should not be based upon fear, but belief itself is good. But we use in belief two things again. Let me complete that. One is the nature of belief, nature of mind which believes. Okay, nature of belief means the nature of mind in which the belief arises or faith arises. Another is the idea you believe in. Okay, I leave the idea at the moment. Let us talk about the nature of belief. The nature of belief, our Shastras divide into three ways. One is the lowest quality of belief, qualitative belief, lower quality, medium quality, moderate, and the high quality of belief. That is a totally healthiest belief, and a partly healthy, and what you say, vikruta means perverted belief. Okay, nature of belief. The lowest belief we call technically as a tamasa, and the middle one is a rajasa, and the highest one is satvika. Okay, tamasa, rajasa, satvika. The believing nature of mind is divided qualitatively into three: tamasa belief, rajasa belief, and satvika belief. These tamasa, rajasa beliefs arise in a state of mind, is a condition of mind. If the mind or whole personality, if the mind or whole personality is tamasa, you have a tamasa belief. It is an emotional, stubborn. Some people, you see them highly fanatics because they feel too insecure. Too insecure people, if his insecurity is further worked up, further threatened and frightened by the society and the people around, the person becomes too insecure. That's why these Abraham religions threaten people, frighten people. All these conversions, they create more insecurity. Artificially, they create insecurity, so that person becomes more fanatic and bigoted. This is a pervert. That's why their beliefs, if you allow me to call, you may not like some of you, they are all tamasic beliefs. Both the Abrahamic religions are tamasic beliefs, because what kind of a mindset they create. That's why some of the healthy people in Europe and America, by naturally, even without studying Hinduism or Buddhism or anything, they naturally felt a little disappointed with that, their concepts, their ideas, because of their Purajanma samskara, Purajanma punya. They have some healthy mind in their nature, healthy mind. They themselves, by their own thinking, they started believing. Sometimes it looks too much for them, so they half mind, they accept their religion, Christianity and Islam. With a half mind they accept, and after some time, some people have really given up the total religion. So okay, among those people who have given up religion, maybe out of rebelling nature also, some people in a healthy way also became less interested. At least if they have not given up completely, at least they find it is too much they are talking, so become partly distanced from it. They may not hate it, they may not totally give it up, but they take some general idea and just become distanced from it. This shows they have got a healthy mind. See, a healthy mind has got a healthy belief. Okay, very highly healthy mind is a sattvic mind. It has got a highly sattvic belief. Belief is a very openness. Then in a sattvic mind, in a healthy mind, the belief that arises is like an intuitive understanding. It is like an insight. It is like an intuitive understanding. See, a very healthy mind, very healthy personality has got a sattvic belief. Sattvic means a kind of intuition. It may not give very clear intuition, very deep intuitions, but a kind of a vague, a very general intuitive understanding it gives you. A healthy mind. And later when you listen to Shastra, oh, your mind comes very near to it. At least it is in the direction. Shastra also, when Shastra explains to you Vedanta, then your own natural understanding, natural belief seems to be very much in line with Vedantic understanding. Of course, if it has a few mistakes, it will correct it. But broadly, it looks nearer to Vedanta, at least in the direction, same direction of Vedanta. So that is a very healthy mind. Therefore, healthy people are there anywhere in the world, in Europe, America, anywhere in the world. Africa, anywhere, because of their Purajanma punya, because of their very good samskara, very healthy values. All humanity, all living beings, they have some good values, good respect, and then helping others. These are all basic human values. When they follow, naturally, that insecurity, unnatural insecurity, they grow out of that unnatural insecurity. The too much of pervert mind, they transcend, they give up. Okay, therefore it is the very nature of human mind which can be divided into three. There further you can divide, but we don't go into the details. I think if we teach Bhagavad Gita, there we can discuss a further combinations of tamas, partly tamoguna, partly rajoguna, partly Rajoguna, partly Satvaguna, then purely Satvaguna. Again different combinations, because you don't find people purely Tamasic, purely Tamasa, purely Rajasa and purely Satvika. You don't find, rarely you find few people. Most of them are in different combinations of Tamasa, Rajasa and Satvika qualities. Okay? Most of the people are in different combinations. Therefore, we are all in different levels. Therefore, tamasa mind, the very nature of mind is very, very, very unhealthy mind. Very stubborn, fanatic. By nature itself is very arrogant, very stubborn, very insecure, highly insecure. Okay. Partly this kind of nature he brings from Purva his own due to Purva samskara he brings them. And partly the society, the culture, the religion he accepts, that also adds to this thing. Some of these Abrahamic religions add up to this kind of problems. Already human being, that's why you see them among all Christians, Muslims, all of them are not so equally fanatics. Some people are little sophisticated, some people are little gentle nature. Here, their nature is good, but their religion is giving a dogmas. So you have to see the combination of both. The dogmas give wrongly. In spite of the dogma, some people are really very good people. You see them among the Muslims, Christians, individually they are very nice people because of their Purajanma samskara, they have got very good nature, very healthy mind. But the dogma they can't give up, and they have no alternative religions. The religions they know, most of the people don't know that there is India existing, there is a Hinduism and it is worth. They have been taught by missionaries a lot of negatively about Hinduism and Buddhism and all Eastern religions. Why Hinduism alone, many other things. So they have been given highly negative information. They don't know many people. So they think that they have got only two alternatives, either Judaism, Christianity or Islam, only three. And you have to choose one of them. So out of them, whichever looks slightly better, they choose. So for a want of better opportunity, they accept it. Their mind feels it may not be so correct, so they take it little lightly, partly lightly they take it. They accept the belief, but they don't want to be so fanatic, so they will be little liberal. You see them, these are all different combinations of human people, human nature. So therefore among the Christians and Muslims, all of them are not so fanatic, not so bad, not so wicked people. Some of them are very nice people, very good people. Okay, so I am telling certain things to our Indians only. So tamasic nature. But some people, if their nature is a tamasic quality and a dogma combines, then you can see them the real fanatics and bigoted fellows. Their nature is tamasic and the dogma also, both combined, they become terrible people. Even nobody can stop them. Now the religion is not helping them to come out of tamoguna. Our religions in Hinduism in India, we help you. So the purpose of dogma, now the second part, as I told you, two things. One is the nature of, believing nature of human mind. Another is the ideas you believe in, the religion given ideas. The religion, the books have give you certain ideas and values and certain practices, certain thinking. So the ideas and practices and lifestyle given by the religious books should help you to change your quality of life. That is tamoguna, your nature of mind. From tamoguna belief, it has to become a rajasa belief. Then it has become a much more healthy belief. That means a healthy personality. So instead of helping you to become rajasa and tamasa, healthy personality, they retain you, they use you, and the dogma added to your already tamasic personality and dogma added. Then he becomes a really fanatic fellow. Nobody can change him. Either he will kill somebody or he will get killed by people. Only one of them will end his life. So therefore, Rajasa is slightly better, but a partly is not so healthy person, but not so bad also. Not so extremely fanatic. He looks reasonably good, but he has got his own belief, his own insecurity, his own fears and all that. Now they try to justify logic, that means rationalize the beliefs, rationalize the fears, not beliefs, rationalize the fears. I think belief itself is not bad. Believing nature is good. It is the fear and insecurities combined with belief. It is the fear and insecurities, they rationalize them and they mold the believing nature of human mind into a wrong concept. See, believing nature itself is good, but they mold it into wrong concept, wrong ideas, wrong dogmas, so that insecurity gets reinforced or become further pervert. Okay, or you can reduce the insecurity by giving a healthy understanding of life. That's where we mean a healthy religion. Then you give a healthy religion, ethics and love, so your love is changed, your emotional relationship, your social relationship, your thoughts and ideas and behavior, they are molded in a proper way. The same believing nature, the belief becomes a Satvika belief. If you read Bhagavad Gita, 14th chapter, 17th chapter, 18th chapter, even other places are there, but these chapters deal with these three kinds of nature of human mind, very detailed they discuss. Oh, it's really beautiful. Even in Mahabharata, Bhagavata, other places also we find this discussion. So, Tamasa, Rajasa and Satvika. This is the believing nature. So the quality of belief depends upon your whole personality. If personality is a tamasic nature, you have a tamasic belief. Means too crude and stubborn, too fanatic belief it is. Believing nature is too insecure, too stubborn, too emotional. That is. Slightly better is Rajasa. And Satvika is really healthy nature. He is very minimum insecure. His insecurity, a lot of insecurity and fears are sublimated. He becomes a much more healthy person. So therefore, this is the nature. Now, along with this believing nature, if the dogmas and ideas given to you about the concept of God and Satan and God's nature is like that, the religion, the prophet has told you, so this God is like that, God is jealous God, God hates you, God hates non-believers and wants you to torture them, then in the beginning people may not believe. Does God ever tell me to torture non-believers? Then in the beginning he may hesitate, but gradually he also gets adjusted to, because when everybody talks of the same thing, then probably it might be true. You also started accepting, start ill-treating at least the non-believers. Okay. Then all this develops. You see them in the world, it is going on now. So the ideas, the religious books which they give the concept of God, concept of life, the jiva, he is before birth and after death, what happens, the hell and heaven concepts, all these things they give you. These ideas reinforce certain feeling, the believing nature. So the personality, instead of helping him to be a better person, they reinforce his nature, his weak nature. Weak nature means tamasic nature. Weak nature means tamasic nature, in this sense I mean. So the lower nature, weak means lower nature. Rajasa, tamasa nature, they reinforce. Or sometimes they provoke little more also. Instead of helping him to become sattvic, they provoke him further. They work up more feelings and then make him more fanatic. Therefore, so the concepts, the dogmas, ideas can be discussed logically. They are supposed to be logical. If they are illogical, why people are believing them? Because the belief, you think that believing nature is there in human mind, and belief needs some idea, and they are told that it is not logical, don't expect to be logical, don't even question with logic. It is all religious book, prophet tells and God reveals, prophet gets it and comes and tells you through all others. You are supposed to believe and you don't know what is what. Don't think of it at all, anything, just believe. They block your mind's further thinking. This is a problem. Okay. So, one is the human nature, the qualitative belief levels, tamasa, rajasa, sattvika, combined with the concepts given by religious books. These two combination makes a human being what he is. Sometimes what happens, even among the Hindus, okay, The ideas given by concept of God and rebirth and the heaven and hell and other lokas and the concept of punya papa are really healthy and very good. The religion given ideas are very healthy, very good. They encourage you positive ideas, positive thoughts, and openly Shastras say that don't accept to blindly think and understand and do them what is a right and good thing. Your healthy understanding, healthy belief is important, Shastras say. In spite of it, because of his own weak nature in the sense tamasic nature, even if in a healthy Hindu Shastras, there are some fanatics here. What can you do? Because that's a human nature. Okay, that means they don't go to the extent of killing others. Of course, even this point Vivekananda says. There is a fanaticism even in Hindus, but Hindu fanatics only torture themselves, they don't go and kill others. Hindu fanatics, they follow certain rigid rules for themselves. For themselves, they set a rigid rule, I won't touch them, the untouchability and etc. Untouchability is not so bad anyway, we'll discuss untouchability at a different place. Untouchability is not bad as the people think, but anyway, that needs explanation. Now it is a big topic, we'll leave them some other time. So certain people, now you don't touch them, you don't give them, you don't interact with them, you have got your own Ishtadevata, your own behavior, your own religious customs, religious habits, religious puja, you live among yourself. If you happen to come in touch with others, you take bath and do prayaschitta and do all those things. So he may be rigid, but that rigidity he applies to himself, doesn't go to ill-treat others, destroy others and kill others. He don't go to the extent of doing that. Okay, he only, Vivekananda used a little crude language. He told that you persecute yourself. So in their fanaticism, if their fanaticism becomes a bigotry, they remain happy. Only they torture others, persecute others. But in Hinduism, they don't touch others. They leave them to themselves. They only, Vivekananda used the word persecute themselves. It's not persecute, but they are very hard on themselves. I don't want to use the word persecute because I believe certain orthodox rules are good as a discipline, as a tapas. Now, calling it persecution is too much, because the tapas, the orthodox religious laws are meant to give you self-control. Okay, the hard tapas is meant to give you self-control. So I feel as long as you use it properly, it gives you good discipline, good self-control. It is good. You don't have to call it persecution. You call it persecution. I don't want to dilate it. We leave them. Persecution, calling it persecution is wrong. At the moment, this much is enough. I don't want to talk more about it. So it is a hard discipline. So these Hindu fanatics are hard on themselves. That's all they say. Hard on themselves. Rigidly they take bath again, rigidly touch again, rigidly fast. For others it looks that why hard you are unnecessarily doing so hard. They say no, I have to believe and I do it. I do just like this alone. In cold water they go and take bath in Prayaga. Terrible cold, it goes to 4 degrees. In such degrees, go and take bath in Prayaga and they'll be shivering like this and take bath. And sometimes people die also. Not all the time, but rarely. In Badri and Kedar, you know what they think? Yes, even if I die, doesn't matter. I died by thinking of God. While taking bath alone, doing good thing, I died. Doesn't matter, I'll get a sadgati. So they think even that is a God's blessing alone. They take it. And other children and other people cry a little bit, but they say anyway he has died in a holy place, he will get a sadgati. So this hardness, this Hindu fanaticism, so Shastras don't tell you to be so fanatic, but because of the tamasic nature in a person, he may take the Shastra has given an openness, still he takes it rigidly. See, this is the thing. Hindu fanaticism, the Shastras are little open, but he takes it more rigidly, in spite of Shastra giving you a healthy idea, healthy concept. But there, two combination. The person himself is a tamasic, and the dogmas are also equally to tamasic. When the both combine, you will have a terrorist alone, the terrible fanatics. They persecute, kill them, burn them live. And the, what is that? What is his name? Columbus did and all that. Columbus did. And we too had here. In India also we had missionaries. The missionaries have got a tamasic nature as well as the dogma. both combined, they start torturing others. Okay, so I'm not doing any propaganda. I'm only just explaining, analyzing in a healthy way to understand ourselves, to make our mind clear, not to propagate against anybody. They are what they are, they know them. Everybody knows what they are. If you want, in fact, you go and interact with them, you know much better than what I say. So I don't go into other details, not required. What is necessary for our understanding alone I touch. Okay. So the dogmas, ideas about God and after death, life after death, and then the rebirth and punya papa, all these things should be logical, at least probability logic. And then by following it, you become following what happens? Following, you become a tamasic nature of belief. Your tamasic personality changes to Rajasa personality. Rajasa personality changes to Sattvika personality. Then your believing nature becomes an intuition. The belief, by purifying your mind, by listening to Vedanta, your very believing nature turns into intuition. It becomes a much deeper level. It starts giving an insights. Therefore, in Hinduism, we don't remove the belief. We purify the mind and we give the healthy ideas, healthy religious ideas. Healthy religious idea is healthy philosophy. Healthy philosophy, healthy ethics, healthy behavior, and the thinking should be healthy and logical. Then what happens? When the personality gets purified, the same belief, which was a tamasic belief, changes into Rajasic belief. The Rajasa belief changes into Sattvika. So the same belief becomes an intuitive understanding. When the personality is purified, the behavior becomes good, and the ideas, religious philosophy, and then Vedantic philosophy becomes much better one. Then the same believing nature it uses. Vedanta uses the same believing nature. It purifies you. Then it becomes an insight into a deeper level. Okay, we don't call it a human weakness, or we use it by adding dogmas to it and make you fanatic and bigoted. Neither we call it weakness and dismiss it, nor we make use of the same believing nature of mind into dogmas, mold into a dogmatic nature, fanatic nature or bigotry. We don't mold it into fanatic and bigotry. We only purify the personality, and the believing nature becomes an intuition. Then the intellect also is not against that belief. The intellect is a healthy thinking and a believing. Believing and healthy thinking, they become so harmonious. Okay, the intellect's nature of thinking, logical thinking. It thinks things very logically. It so becomes convinced. The belief also becomes healthy. And the convictions, the thinking nature, the thinking, believing become so harmonious. They come together. At a point they come together, they become just one, harmoniously one. That's why we say Nihitam Guhayam. The Hridaya becomes purest one. In that Antarmukhata, your mind starts seeing. It is a believing is an inner sight. Intellect is understanding. Okay, see the understanding and the Hridaya heart seeing. Seeing and feeling and understanding. Feeling and understanding become one together in a purest state. You become, you get an intuition. That becomes a deeper understanding and intuition. Therefore, belief is not bad. It is the other things that create the bad. Okay, so this is the Shastra. Time is up. Anyway, for my way of speaking, I go very slowly, repeat lot. 1 hour is not enough to complete any topic. Anyway, I remember it. I shall continue it in the next class. Please have patience with me, because this is my nature. I can't change. This is how I am. Briefly, some people say everything, finish it within this thing. I can't do that. I have to go elaborately and detail, because I have got all kinds of audience. Some people need a lot of explanation. Some sharp people, in just one sentence they understand. For certain people, little explanation. There are still lowest type of people. I have to give them example and life examples, explain and repeat. Then it becomes clear for them. So I have to address, this is not a selected class of selected students. It is a general audience. Therefore, people are of different level. Listeners are of different level. I have to keep in the lowest student. So some of you are very intelligent. Just in one sentence you understand. You may not need all these explanations. But others need. So you have to listen patiently for them. You may take it lightly. Some of the detail, some of the elaborations, you take them lightly because you already know them. So for other people, this helps them to understand. So the nature and also, therefore in Hinduism, the nature we try to change, only this one sentence I will say and close it. Tamasa belief changed into Rajas and Satvik. This is by changing the personality, improving your personality, your very believing nature, the belief becomes a Satvik. Then the ideas, religious ideas about God and Punya Papa, other world, and in these things, and even Vedantic ideas, they are very healthy and logical and healthy. So that also. So the healthy ideas and the healthy nature of human mind, these two combined together, you become a really Sattvic person, a good Vedantin, good understanding person. Okay. Therefore, Shastriya Vyavahara, I have to come to that. Then what is a Shastriya Vyavahara? I have to tell. We will discuss in the next class. Okay. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om Tat Sat. Om.